Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Um, my name is meleyG. If this is your first time, seeing me, welcome. You are welcome, and I hope you stay longer. For today's video, I would really wish if every single one of you, at least if you're able to watch it to the end, then you're able to understand the full context of what I am about to talk about. And yes, by the title, it says, let's talk about tech. Technically, for me, under tech, it's software engineering. So in today's video, I'm going to be addressing why I went into software engineering, what I like about it, and the advantages and disadvantages that it's been for me. And there'll be a conclusion and also a final advice that I will give to you guys at the end. Let's begin. Why tech? For me, it was two options I had: business administration or software engineering. Those were the options that was presented to me by the school that I studied, the university I studied in. And the reason why I chose software engineering was because I was already in the creative field. I was in the arts department, and in my head, I kind of felt like, well, software engineering, meaning I'm going to, have to create things from the scratch. I'm creating apps, I'm creating this, I'm creating that, I'm creating all of that all from the start. That should be fine. Business administration, ew. Yes. Fun fact, almost everything I do right now in my life has more to do with business administration than software engineering. But that's besides the point. So yes, I went into software engineering thinking, well, it leans more on the creative side. I'm going to have to create something. And since those were the only two options that I was given to study in a university abroad, and there was absolutely no way I was going to study in Nigeria. No. So I had those two options out of the school that was willing to accept me, and I went for software engineering. I also qualified to study software engineering based on the courses that I took, which is why I was even accepted at all into the school. So yeah, that's pretty much why. Next one, what do I love about it? Or what did I love about it? I'm going to mash this with the next one, which is the advantages of being in tech or studying tech or software engineering. And for me, to be honest, it was just to be part of the cool kids. And when I say that loosely, because it's not just like, oh, I wanted to feel like I'm cool also. No, it was really because the cool kids in my head were one of the best in school. And there was this aura to them, being smart and being cool in a sense was what drew me to that. And also I felt like for almost all my life I've always felt like I've had to prove that I was not dumb, that I was smart. And because of that, I felt like, doing software engineering, whenever I told people that, oh, I was studying software engineering, or I was a software engineer, or I had a degree in software engineering, they were like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like, you must be really smart. And to me, that validation that I got was what has actually kept me tied to software engineering, because it made me feel like I was smart. I graduated from the arts department in Nigeria. Now, let me explain. In Nigeria, the way the schooling system is quite different from, in other places, obviously, especially here in America. So when you get to senior secondary school, which is kind of like senior high school, but you get there a few more years before you actually get to senior high school here in America, if I'm correct. But senior secondary school, you're there for 3 years, and that's where you study before you move to university level or college level and all of that. So for me, in senior secondary school, there are 3 departments that you would fall under. Either you're in the science department, you're in the commerce department, which is like the financial accounting department, or you're in the arts department, which falls under journalism or international relations or theater arts. And my whole life, everything I've done has leaned towards the theater arts. I loved dancing and I was in the choir. I kind of also had that thing for music and, performing arts. I always had that in literature. Not exactly the kind of literature that you study in school, but I mean, like, it seemed to align more with the things that I loved to do naturally. That was why I was in the arts department. But there's this running joke amongst most people, I believe, in Nigeria. And that is, if you're in, the only people that go to the arts department are those that are not smart in school. Because the smart ones go to the science department, the smart ones go to the commerce department, where you have accounting and all of that. But then the ones that don't really like to study in class, they just go to the arts department. So it's not like I say, because you have to choose a department, so they just go there. So it's not like as if they are not in any departments and stuff. And I remember, there was a time when I was in university, I was already abroad, and I was having this, conversations with a couple of my classmates. And they pretty much said, please, like, they graduated from science department, but we were all there studying software engineering. And they said that, please, they can go to the arts department and they will pass any course there. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's true, except if you are smart about it and you have knowledge about those courses, that you would pass them. But they pretty much well, because it was one person who did this, and he pretty much downgraded the level of knowledge for those in the arts departments, because like I said, they only see people who go to arts department as those that were not really smart at all. So that's why being an advantage, I would say, for me was being able to feel like I was smart, studying like engineering, software, like you must be smart. And also with engineering, you're talking about codes, you're talking about this and all of those things. So you naturally just started to feel cool, and it validated my insecurity. Well, lack thereof. I don't know. It validated my feeling and my need to want to feel like I was smart and not dumb. That need to prove. Yeah. So now the next one, the disadvantage of being in tech or software engineering or studying them. Pretty much everything I said above. Pretty much everything I said above is literally a disadvantage. Doing something just to prove to other people that you're not something, I think that's already the beginning of problems. The beginning of a lot of issues. In as much as I was one of the cool kids now, in a way, I still felt like I'd never be good enough, and I was only one of the cool kids to people who were not studying with me. But those who were studying with me, I always felt like they kind of looked down on me, and that made me put more pressure on myself, and that made me feel like I'll never be good enough. Yes, I'm one of the cool kids, but I still felt like I was the third wheel, and that's a different conversation. But I felt like I still had to prove to the cool kids also, I felt like I had to prove to them. And I'm a kind of person that if I don't understand something in school, I'm literally bugging everybody that is going to help me. Like, I'm not ashamed to say that, because I believe that rather than me let jealousy fester into envy, I would rather go to meet you and ask you for help. That's my mindset. And I did that. The only thing is, it made me feel like everyone looked at me as I couldn't do anything on my own. Like, I must always need help, and that was not true at all. And maybe they didn't look at me this way, but that was how I felt like I was treated. It was not an easy thing for me to handle, to be honest with you. It really was not an easy thing. It definitely made me feel worse, because I was already using this as a validation to feel not smart. But then if around the people that I was with and studying with, If I felt like they looked at me a certain way, then obviously that validation was no longer working anymore. So it made me feel this kind of what they call imposter syndrome, and it drove me into deep depression. And this was before I even really knew I was depressed, to be honest with you. But it drove me into really deep depression, and to the point that I'm a kind of person that I like to either be the best or one of the best. I don't like anything less than that. I don't like feeling less than at all. So if, let's say, I didn't get maybe something, maybe I'm running a code and it doesn't seem to be working, I'm the kind of person that will literally feel like a complete abject failure. Like I'm a failure. Like, why isn't it working? Especially if it seems like every other person's code is running, but mine is not. And one thing I've realized with engineering is, especially with coding, is you're going to have issues with your code. You're going to have bugs. That's inevitable. You cannot avoid that. You're going to have bugs in your codes. The problem with me is because I'm already someone who is trying to prove that I am smart, who's trying to prove that I'm not a failure. Whenever I have bugs in my code, it literally serves as a reminder that I am dumb, even though it's not true. But my insecurity had already been built around the fact that I'm either one of the best, or I am a complete failure. There is nothing and no other category that I want to be placed under. Those are the only three options that I have, which obviously is extremely wrong, stupid way to think, but that was how I thought. I had also failed some courses, and me failing those courses made me feel even worse. Like I felt way worse. Mind you, I'm not the only person who had failed some courses. Even some people among this best, students had also failed some courses. But I just felt like I shouldn't fail. Like, one type of failure means I am a failure all around. And I kind of felt too that if I was doing something that I loved, which is more in the theater arts department, and I wouldn't feel this much of a failure, because I would have something that I didn't have for engineering, which was the love for it. I didn't love engineering. Yes, I wanted to join it because it was the creative part and it could validate me being smart and stuff. But when I look at my life now, and I look at everything I have done since I graduated from school, it's clear that I loved something different from what I studied. But because I was so heavily trying to prove to people that I was one of the smart kids, I ended up wasting a long time of my life. Or maybe it wasn't a waste. Who knows? Maybe, at some point, it's going to make all sense. But right now, with everything I've done since I've graduated, it has had nothing to do with software engineering. I've had people even look at me. Yes, sometimes when I say I study software engineering, they're like, oh my gosh, wow, really? I'm like, yeah, but don't get it confused. It wasn't like I was the smartest. I'm that kind of person. I'm really direct and straightforward. I'll tell you, like, don't think because I studied software engineering that I was one of the smart ones. No, maybe I was, but it's just hard for me to look at myself as one of the smart ones, to be honest, in anything I do in life. I look at myself as someone who, no matter what happens, I'm always going to have to keep learning. And because I feel like if I have to keep learning, that means that I would never be part of the smart ones. I guess that's the mindset I would have to change on my own. But yeah. Also, another issue that I found with tech, or that made it harder for me, was the fact that there's always something new to learn. To be honest with you, I'm willing and open to learning new things, I guess. But with tech, it's just completely different. There's always something new to learn. You're always learning some kind of new API, software, this, that, everything. It's like, I'm probably sure at the recording of this video, there's some new programming languages out somewhere. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? All of these things all extremely annoying. And maybe these things are easy for me to learn. Maybe they'll be easy for me to learn. The problem is I already see it as extremely difficult because I'm struggling with one language, and now you guys are bringing in more languages, which is good, I guess, for the society and for the tech world, but it's not good for my insecurity. It's not good for how I feel. So yeah, that's a big problem for me. I had major low self esteem when I was around people who are in tech or developers, because I'm like, when they're talking sometimes and they're talking about codes and stuff, and you can tell that, okay, they're talking about something in tech, or web development, and I don't know what they're talking about. I start to literally panic. Like, it's like I'm having an anxiety because I'm like, is this something new, or is this something that I should have known about? Like, because now I'm thinking, and I don't want to look dumb to them, because if they know that I study software engineering and this is something that I already should have known, but I don't know it, in my head, I feel like they're looking at me like, was she one of the dumb ones in school? And I'm just like, I can't have that. I just can't, So being around tech people, I try to figure out a way to dodge the question, or like just like leave quietly, or focus on something else, something that maybe I actually do know about. Because to be honest with you, I'm not gonna lie, when you do know what you're talking about in like tech and stuff like that, you kind of look cool. Nobody can argue about that. Don't even argue. You kind of look cute, cute and cool also. YouTube, literally in almost every video I try to click on, there is some kind of tech advert that they are showing. I'm like, YouTube, literally, you're trying to remind me of something I'm trying to run away from. Like, stop. Because I typed a question in tech on Google does not mean I want to now go to all of these tech schools. I already went to one, a university, and I still ain't using my degree. So stop. Ooh. I have a software engineering degree, but I've never used it since I graduated. And this year I felt like, okay, you know what? I've been away from, anything software engineering for a few years now. And it's I need money. So I'm like, let me go back to it. And I've probably applied to like 100 tech related jobs, and on the side I try to do little open source projects that I put up on my GitHub, um, just to keep practicing and get familiar with a lot of things, a lot of new things, and just make sure I still have that practice in. But then, this same year that I'm like, all right, maybe I should go back to tech, I hear of the laying offs by a lot of big tech company. And some people that I know in tech are like, it's going to be really hard for them, for anyone who's trying to get a job, in the tech field, especially web development and a lot of other fields. Because of the laying offs and stuff like that, maybe you will still have a chance at like a startup, but definitely not going to be one of the big ones. And for me, I'm like, well, God, is this a sign? Are you trying to tell me not to do this to myself? Or is it just my own mind telling me that I think God is telling me not to do this? Because I don't know. I honestly don't know. And I know that, yes, I'm saying that I don't want to go into tech anymore, this and that. To be honest with you, I really don't want to go into tech at all. I don't like it. But do I want money? Do I need money bad enough to go back into something that would probably lead me to a depressing life for as long as I'm working in it? Yes, I need money that bad. But I don't think it's enough for me to go back to something like tech. I am not willing to subdue myself to um, a life of torture, doing something that I know isn't really bringing me happiness at all. But aside from money, why else would I even want to go back to it? These are questions that, some people may be asking, right? Um, yeah. To prove to the walls, because deep down, I know that the people I'm trying to prove to don't really care. So to prove to the walls that I am smart and not dumb. To be honest, another reason why I've thought about going back to tech is because every of my past endeavors since I graduated has not yielded anything yet, especially financially. And we all know you need money to leave. You need some coins, and I ain't got those coins. Um, I have always kept a job, so it's not like I've just been at home doing nothing, and being a burden to everybody. No, I've always kept a job. But the jobs that I have kept, obviously not in tech, but also not enough to sustain me and the multitude of things that I need to do, and also to really help my family out. But then you hear of how much money a lot of people in tech are making, and of course it's very attractive. You're like, you want to do better for your family, you want to take care of your family. And one thing that is really keeping me held down to tech is, number one, I have this guilt that I made my mom, work so hard, suffer so hard to send me to school to study something like software engineering, only for me to graduate and decide not to use my degree because of how depressing it has made me, and how much more depressing it will probably make me. I feel like, I owe it to her, but and she wants the best for me, and my mom is fine if I'm making money in any field at all. Like, as long as you're making money and you're good and you're sustainable, I'm cool with that. I just want you to be okay financially, and I'm not okay financially. So that's why I still have that thought of tech still lingering in my head, because I really want to be able to take care of my mom. The thing is, I know I'm not done. I've been able to, start a business, write a book, become a published author, and also start a music career. And dumb people don't do that. So I know that I am not dumb, 100%. Sorry if the lights got dark all of a sudden. I may not have been the smartest in tech, but I definitely was not the dumbest either. Maybe I just didn't like being average or looked at as less than the best. And for me, that's in any field. Even in music, book, my business, I want to be the best in what I do. That is just something that's in me. And I do not want to be less than or average. Because I realize I consider that a failure on my part. I know that I could have been more than average and also be one of the best if I had truly enjoyed tech or engineering. The same way I enjoy writing a book, the same way I enjoy making music, the same way I enjoy making jewelry and clothing accessories for my business, I would have been a force to be reckoned with. And I could be more than average. I know that. I guess I just don't like it that much. So whenever I get frustrated, I just shut my laptop. I'm like, not today, Satan. Not today. Anyways, now that I finally released the fact that my need to want to brag to my former peers and anyone who probably looked down on me or saw or thought of me as less than is the reason why I'm still holding on to tech, I pray that one day I'm able to let it go. I pray that one day I'm able to, let it go. Because I believe that I should do it because I love it. You should do something because you love it. Or at least, even if you don't love it, you know that you're going to be able to build the love for it. Because it's the love for it that will keep you in it. Apparently, since I didn't love it, it wasn't able to keep me in it. So final advice in closing. I know this video is already long, but I got some advice for you guys. One, don't be like me. Don't do anything just to prove to anyone that you're the best or you're this, you're that. If you can prove to yourself that you're good enough, that's all you need. You ain't got to prove to other people, because they're probably trying to prove to you that they are the best or that they are what they try to claim to be. Number two, don't hold on to something that you know is for the wrong reasons. Let it go. You should have let it go. Should have let it go. Should have let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Right now, I still feel the pressure to, still continue on with tech. Because like I said, I mentioned the money issues. That's literally like the number one driving force right now. And I'll still study from time to time, just in case the right job comes along. But even though I'm still doing that, I'm also leaving everything in the hands of God. Right now, I've pretty much decided to just submit myself to the will of God. And if He says that He wants me in tech, then I do believe that He will provide me the right tech job or the right software job that would not have me leading a depressing life. I believe that He will help me find peace with it. But at the same time, if He doesn't give me a tech job, which is what I want, and He gives me something else, it's all in His will. That's what I've decided to let my life surround around, His will. And that's what I'm going to focus on. All right, now it's extremely dark. As you can see, I'm using natural light. We've come to the end of this video. Oh my gosh, it's so long. While you guys are trying to figure out, how to let go of what is holding you back, please pray for me that I'm able to, let go of whatever is holding me back. As you know, tech.